Aw shit, the year's half over and it is officially half-baked. What's up everybody and welcome to another episode of Top 5 Saturdays Live with me, one of your co-hosts Chase Lee and the other co-host Brian Sudfield. It's very simple on this week's episode, folks. It's halfway through the year, so Brian and I are going to talk about our top 5 favorite films of the year so far. It should be a lot of fun. What's going to be on our list? I don't know. Is it going to be Baywatch? Probably the fuck not. Alright, so what will we have on our list? You're going to have to sit down, relax, and find out. What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Top 5 Saturdays Live with me, Chase, one of your co-hosts, and the other co-host in the corner who is frozen. Other co-host, hello.
Hi, I'm Brian Sudfield. I don't know what's going on with the internet. I'm sorry.
This is what happens when you do shit live. And how you guys doing on this podcast? If you're new to it, welcome. What we do is we take a look at some of the movies coming out on Friday, and we'll pick an actor, actress, director, genre, what have you. We'll make a top 5 list according to that, honor it, put it on a pedestal, and give it a fucking celebration, a good old pat on the back. The cool thing about the show is that we don't know each other's list, and it's live, so we have no idea what the hell's going to happen, just like with the internet connection, and we don't know what's going to splurge and poop out of our mouths with the verbiage that will come. So, so that is the podcast in a nutshell. Before we get into the actual topic, Brian, how are we doing this week? It's been a while since we talked, since we recorded the other one early.
Yeah, I'm trying to start this new job, warehouse job at Amazon. It is tiring. It is so tiring. It's from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. You know, it's fucking on my whole sleep schedule, but you know what? It is what it is because I'm a poor college student. I need money badly, and but other than that, it's a week. Stuff happened. It just flew by, and yeah, Chase, how it going?
It's a week. Stuff happened. Sounds like the worst title for any book ever published. So my week, was it wasn't that good, but you know what's really cool about my week, Brian? It's when we do this shit. It's when we do this for you guys, these same 20 people every single week that listen to this crazy-ass show. So we thank you dearly, and of course, spread this shit around. Let people know that this is a decent little top 5 little podcast you found on the interwebs. So, Brian, I gotta ask you that question. What are we doing this week?
Well, we are halfway through the year, so it is a cool thing for us to talk about our top 5 films of the year so far. Now, I don't know Chase's top 5. I know his bottom 5, but I don't know his top 5. It's going to be interesting. There's going to be some differences. I'm sure there's going to be at least one similarity in our top 5, because I've talked to Chase. I always talk to Chase whenever I see a movie and give him my opinions or share them to him. And it should go down interesting, because I can tell you right now, one of the films on my list, I feel like Chase is going to be like, okay, sure, whatever, goodbye. But I'm excited to do this because I want to know so far what our favorite films of the year are, because let's be honest, these top 5 films most likely might not be our top 5 when December comes around. There's going to be so many more movies coming out. All these Oscar award buzz movies are going to be coming out. More blockbusters. There's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to come out. And it should get interesting. So this list, our top 5 films of the year so far, it will be quite fascinating.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of the mix that we have on our list, and Brian actually, forecasted what's going to happen 6 months from now, which we will have at the end of the year, as usual, the top 5 films of the year. That will be the episode of the week. So, but for this one, we're at the halfway point, and just before we get into our list, I'll ask Brian this, but I'll I'll go ahead and start and say that, the first half of this year has had a lot of surprises. If you look at each month, whether it be January, February, March, April, May, or June, you've had like some type of surprise, whether it be like Split in January, or like Get Out in February, or Logan in March, or in May you had Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and in June you had Wonder Woman. It's like there was always a nice surprise like lurking throughout the month, and also surrounded by pretty good movies, I would say. Overall, it's been a pretty good year so far. Yes, there's been some really bad ones for sure, but I think for the most part, we're off to a really great start, and I can't wait to see how this year finishes. So the eligibility on the list is anything from January 1st to June 30th. Brian, for the first half for you, the first 6 months, how has it fared out for you? Are you happy with it? Are you a little disappointed? What's going on over there?
For the most part, it was pretty satisfying. There were quite a bit of disappointments for me, mainly with the blockbusters. There were some blockbusters that really disappointed me tremendously. Kong Skull Island, to me, is still the most disappointing I've seen this year. I was really excited for it. I liked Godzilla. I loved the cast, and the movie it was boring and bland. It sure may have had some fun. I've seen this year. Also, at the end of this episode, after we do our top 5, I want us to say what our worst movie of the year is so far, like our least favorite movie of the year is, because I don't know what your least favorite movie of the year is, so I would like to know that. But so far this year, it's been pretty good. A lot of surprises, like you said. Definitely ones that went under the radar, and then they came out of nowhere and was just like, oh, that's awesome. Oh shit, look at that. So for the most part, it's been a pretty solid year, and yeah, that's it. I just want to jump into the list badly. Badly.
It's also a lot of films that have flown under the radar that we've been surprised at, and a lot of films that we were already excited for that just blew away our expectations. So, all right, guys, let's jump into it. The top 5 films of the year so far, according to B-Suds and the Clee, which is both of us, our nicknames. I just gave us nicknames. All right, so let's start with Brian first. I have to ask you. Well, I can't say so far on this one because this is a definitive list until we get to December. So, what is your number 5 favorite film of the year so far?
My number 5 is probably the most indie film on this list. Not a lot of people have already seen this movie. I saw it at a film festival, so it just came out on VOD, I think 3 weeks ago. I'm not entirely sure. My number 5 is a little film called Band-Aid.
As soon as you said I saw it at a festival, I already immediately knew what it was. So I have not seen this yet, so go ahead and explain what this movie is about and your thoughts on it.
All right, so Band-Aid follows a couple played by Adam Pally and Zoe Lister-Jones. Their marriage is in a coop right now. They always fight. They're having problems. It's not pretty. So what happens is, and this is where it gets pretty creative and innovative. So they decide to turn their fights into songs and start a band. And when I heard about this movie, it premiered at Sundance, and I was just like, okay, sure, that sounds cool, I guess. It sounds like this year's Saint Street, and Saint Street was my favorite film last year, so, that kind of got me interested. And once I heard it was playing at the Montclair Film Festival, which is the film festival that takes place in the township where my college is, it takes place usually like the week before school ends, so, I decided to go. I heard Zoe Lister-Jones was going to be there. Like I said, she is the lead in the movie. But not only that, she wrote the movie, she produced it, she directed the movie, and she even wrote songs for the movie. That's right. It's not a musical. It's a movie about music, similar to the veins of A Saint Street. And what I loved so much about this movie was the charm that was put into the story, because every marriage fight, every couple fights, my parents fight, everyone fights when they're in the couple. And this film, to me, depicted it beautifully. And Lister-Jones and Polly, their chemistry was out of this world. And the cool thing is with this one, Zoe Lister-Jones, she's a female. She directed the movie and she wrote it. When she came to the film festival and talked about the making of this movie, she talked about how the entire crew, meaning the editor, the cinematographer, the composer, the costume designer, the set designer, it's all women. This is an all-female crew, and that's awesome because, in my opinion, we need more female filmmakers, whether it be directors, writers, and cinematographers, editors, all that stuff. We live in a day and age where female filmmakers get pushed under the radar and no one ever talks about them. This film was just also, it had really great music. The performances were fantastic. Fred Armisen plays the drummer of the band, and he is without a doubt the scene stealer. He is so fantastic. He delivers the dialogue in the straightest way possible, and it's just naturally funny. Now, granted, I've only seen the movie once. I haven't seen it in 2 months, and I know Chase's co-host Joel saw it, and apparently he hated it, but that's Joel for you guys. So I think the movie was just really, really sweet and endearing. It was really funny, some great drama. It was just an all-around awesome movie for me, and I cannot wait to watch it again. I think it's going to be a film that's going to go under people's radars, and hopefully they give it the benefit of the doubt by checking it out. It is my number 5.
Yeah, I mean, exactly what you said. It sounds like this year's Sing Street, which is great because I like Sing Street. I like the charm. I like the heart. I like the characters. I like the way it was written. It was just a very inspiring film. It was a very charming film, very likable film, and so it sounds like Band-Aid is on the same path, which is great. So I'll check it out eventually. So for my number 5, I'm going to go with the surprise hit in the month of February, and that would be Get Out, Jordan Peele's directorial debut. It stars Daniel Kaluuya, right? Is that?
Yes.
I probably mispronounced that. I apologize. And then, holy shit, I just... Who's the chick's name?
Allison Williams.
Allison Williams, yeah. I was thinking... Because I just got done watching Glow, and so Allison Brie's on my mind. So Allison Williams... And Daniel plays a black gentleman. Allison plays a white woman, and they are a couple. And she takes him to her parents' house, and weirdo shit ensues. And it is a very good horror thriller that also has some really great social commentary thrown in there for for good measure. It's bloody. It's thrilling. It's really well written. It's really well acted. Fucking the main character, when he's in the sunken zone, it is some fantastic acting. Also, with Catherine Keener bouncing off of on there. Bradley Whitford plays the father. It's just a really good time in the theater. From the moment the movie opens, which is, something happens and you're like, oh shit, I'm kind of intrigued, and you're just kind of going along this journey, just finding out what's going to happen. Are they going to capture this guy? Is he going to escape? Is he, what is he going to do? And you're just kind of following him throughout this journey as he tries to escape, and it's really thrilling at the very end when he gets satisfaction. I will just say that. A lot of people have a problem with kind of the Twilight Zone-y type of twist ending. I didn't mind it just because the world that they set up was kind of weird to begin with, so it didn't really turn me off that this twist ending was really like I say, it had this Twilight Zone type of feel to it. I don't know, I really enjoy it. It kind of reminded me of just a really solid horror twist that you would find from a movie from the 80s or the 90s or whatever. And Jordan Peele, this guy is going to be on fire when it comes to directing. I can't wait to see what he does next. I like his comedy, but he has found his niche in directing because he knows how to direct a very intense, entertaining movie that's just a joy from beginning to end. And especially if you like horror thrillers, I think this is definitely one of the best ones of the year. So that is my number 5, Get Out. Brian, are you going to pass on this? I'm actually, I have this weird pit in my groin at the bottom of my dick, and it's telling me that this might be on your list.
It's actually my bottom 5.
Oh shit!
You're close. As someone that's not the biggest horror fanatic, I really enjoyed Get Out. I thought it was so exciting to watch, and I remember from the trailer it looks weird. I was like, okay, I'm curious about it because of Jordan Peele, who I also really enjoy. I love his comedy as well, and I was watching it and I'm like, you know what? I think this guy has found his stick. Directing, he fucking nailed it. Everyone was really blown away by this movie. I actually liked the ending of the movie as well. When you said Bradley Whitford, I was laughing because, he's like, so how long has this been going on? This thing.
It's so great.
It was a really great movie. I really want to watch it again. I was like, when I saw it, I was like, I kind of want to watch this again now. It was so great. It was just wonderful. I loved it so much. Great pick.
Yeah, what it boils down to is a really good horror thriller that was made on like a really small budget, but there was so much care put into it that it almost felt like a big blockbuster. So you got to give Jordan Peele props for that. And of course, my boy Brian knows that any chance I can bring him up, I have to. Jason Blum. Which, hey, listen, you can shit on that man all you want, but that guy is fucking killing it this year with Split and Get Out, making bonzo type of bucks at the box office. So good for him. And the year's not over yet with his production company. So, all right, let's move on to number 4. What do you got?
Okay, I know how you feel about this movie. I know you weren't really a big fan of it. I went to this movie knowing nothing about it. I didn't watch a trailer. I didn't know anything. I just knew who was in it. My number 4. All right, I know you're going to tell me to leave the show because you didn't really like this movie that much. Colossal.
Okay, yeah, so I still stand by what I said. Like, I like the first, like, half of Colossal, and then the second half was just, like, this weirdo, like, rushed thing to try to wrap up the movie, and it didn't flow well. It just felt very just stilted, and it didn't, I don't know, it just didn't really match the first half, because I was actually intrigued by the movie. The movie was really fascinating, dealing with kind of like the inner workings of like alcoholism and whatnot, and dealing or applying that to like monsters and the monster within you. Like I get it, but I just thought the ending was a little bit rushed for character growth and plot growth. It just didn't really work for me. But I know a lot of people, including yourself, that really love this film, and it's on everyone's top 10 list except for mine. So please, Brian, make your case. Why is it your number 4?
To me, like I said, I went into the movie knowing nothing about it. All I knew was that it had Anne Hathaway, and that was it. I didn't watch a trailer. I didn't read the plot. I didn't know anything. I didn't know about this monster thing. I didn't know what she was battling. I was like, I walked in fresh, which is something I never do for movies. It's very rare for me to do. Like, there are times where I go in not watching a trailer, but I know the plot of the movie. This one is one of the first where I went in not knowing the plot, not watching the trailer. All I knew was who was in it, and that was it. I had never seen a film from this guy, Nacho Vigalondo, and it got me. It was so impressed. I was so impressed. I love the comedy. I love the charm. I love the thrill aspect of it. Anne Hathaway, in my opinion, gave a fantastic performance in this movie. And this has come from someone who's not even the biggest fan of her. I think Anne Hathaway is a talented actress. She's an Oscar winner. She is when she's given the right material, she crushes it tremendously. However, her attitude to me, and her real life attitude, overshadows her talent, and it makes me kind of sad. Because I know deep down this girl can act well, and she crushed it. She was battling alcoholism. She gave one of my favorite performances of the year. And Jason Sudeikis, who I've always been a fan of. I've always loved Sudeikis. I will agree, his character transition is a little odd. It is a little off-putting. It did feel somewhat rushed. That's the thing. When I first saw the movie, I was kind of like indifferent about it, but then I thought about it, and I kind of watched it again. Online, I apologize, and I was like, you know what? It was a smart move to like hide that, because I didn't predict him going down the road he went down.
I guess, but it was that switch almost felt like we fell asleep for 15 minutes. We woke up and something happened, and we're like, "Well, what was the in between? Like, what was the ramp up to that?" It was missing. It was like he was there, and then he was here, and he stayed at this like maximum level the entire time. You're like, "What the fuck just happened?" See, we're trying to skirt around it because I know people are still curious about it, and I don't want to ruin it for you guys. It's just, but Brian's right; they hit it from the marketing, because when I was watching it and it happened, I was like, I didn't see that coming. So I guess good for it, but it just didn't work for me, and it really does. It really drags the movie down quite a bit, actually, for me.
I get that. I do understand that, but I don't know why. I guess the originality to me really got to me because, as a filmmaking major, unfortunately, we live in a day and age where there's not many original pieces of filmmaking, and this one, to me, was pretty much an original piece because, how often is it that you hear about a movie like Colossal? Like, if you look at a movie like this, there's never been a movie like this before, and it was really well done in my opinion. It got me more excited to see whatever else this Nacho Ficalando guy does, and it made me think, hey, Anne Hathaway could still act, and Jason Sudeikis has acting chops, so that's a good thing to me. I will say that I was also really impressed by the visual look. It wasn't like the best visuals, but for a movie that I think it cost like less than $10 million to make, not bad visuals. I don't know. I guess I was just blown away by how original it was. And for someone who went in knowing absolutely nothing about it, I guess I just really loved it.
Hey, listen, there's no one bigger of a fan than originality. You'll see from my number 3 pick. And, of course, case in point, go watch episode 8 of Twin Peaks, and you'll see that originality ooze from the TV screen. So I get that. It's just, I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe I was expecting something different, and the film threw me a curveball, and maybe I just didn't react to it because I was expecting something else.
That's the thing. Like, I don't want to get into this topic for too long, but it's misleading. It maybe the marketing that's the thing. Like, some movies, when you watch the trailers or commercials or whatever, they get you to expect something that you're not going to get. Like, I'm just going to bring this up briefly. It Comes at Night. I know you weren't really big on that one either. I liked it. I didn't love it, but I enjoyed it for what it was. It sucks that the marketing team likes to mislead you guys, and it's good that they hid Jason Sudeikis' turn in the movie, because if they spoiled that in the trailer, it would have been a major problem. Because to be honest, even people who didn't like the movie didn't see that coming. So it's just all this misleading stuff. Marketing sucks nowadays anyway. No wonder why there are people out there who don't watch trailers. So
yeah,
I understand where you're coming from totally. But I don't know. I guess I was just really impressed with it. Colossal, I just think it's a masterpiece. It's my number 4.
Hey man, you do you. I will say that when we get to my number 3, I'm pretty sure everyone that probably saw this movie is going to roll their eyes because it is so weird and very Lynchian. Speaking of Twin Peaks, so my number 4, I'm going to go with another strong female character. I'm going to go with Brian. Can you play out that epic guitar riff? Her solo or her theme song, because it's fucking bitchin'. So good. Every time when you hear it, you get jazzed up and you're like, Wonder Woman, go kick some ass. That's my number 4. Listen, I actually have another movie in this slot. However, this film does not open until August, so I cannot put it on my list. I want it to put on my list, but this will be my replacement for now. But Wonder Woman is still a great comic book movie. It's probably I would say it's my second favorite behind a certain other one that Brian and I will probably get to in our as our number one. But for Wonder Woman, it was important for the DC cinematic universe to hit this out of the ballpark. It was important for them to make a great film that everyone is reacting to very positively, by the way. This film is crushing it. It's got over $350 million so far domestically. It's the highest grossing one they've had so far because it has an inspiring, kick-ass warrior superhero, and people can gravitate towards that. This is a character who is brought up to fight and, protect those who cannot be helped. And that is her whole mentality. So when you throw her in this fish out of water situation and she's in this war that's caused by mankind, she doesn't understand it. She's like, why can't we just go fight them? And they're like, no, you have to strategize and stuff. She's like, no, fuck that. And that's why we get one of those cool sequences like No Man's Land, where we see her fighting these like wall of bullets because she is doing what she thinks is right. And that is what's great about her heroism, is that she's just doing it. She's interacting with people, and she doesn't care what they say. She just does her thing. And there's something really kind of inspiring about that. And Gal Gadot, I've shat on her in the past. No, you did not tune into German porn. Sorry. No, I realize that I've kind of dumped on her acting in the past. She's still not a great actress, but I will say her facial expressions and her facial movements in this film completely sold me on the likability and the warrior badassery of Wonder Woman, Diana Prince herself. And she completely just sold the role, whether it be in the fight sequences or whether it be in a smaller moment with Steve Trevor, played by Chris Pine, which, by the way, they both have excellent chemistry. I actually really like them on screen quite a bit. Didn't think it would work, actually, but it works. They're two good-looking people, and they have good chemistry. I mean, there's really nothing more to say, but the one thing I really appreciate about this film, Brian, you know how, when directors are like, I read this comic as a youth, and, they make the movie, and you're like, okay, that's cute and all. They probably just said that for the press tour. Patty Jenkins read some Wonder Woman comics. Because when you look at those fight sequences, they're so creative and they're so different than what we've seen before. And she utilizes slow-mo very well. It's exhilarating to watch. When you watch these sequences, you really get into it. And when I'm telling you, when those sequences play and you have her awesome guitar riff theme in the background, it is you want to stand up and pump your goddamn fists in the air. That's how awesome it is. It's a fun watch from beginning to end. I do have a bit of an issue with the main villain, but it doesn't excuse my fun from the film. And the emotional moments that do come at play are very effective. I cared about everyone. I cared about what was going on. I wanted them to succeed. I wanted them to take on these, basically Nazis and, crush them, kill them. I wanted them to become victorious. And when you watch it, you're rooting for this hero because she's just a warrior that's doing the right thing, and she just doesn't care, but in the best way possible. She just doesn't care about anyone's beliefs. She believes this thing, she just goes for it, and definitely a fun theater experience for sure. So Wonder Woman is my number 4, but like I said, I have another movie in this slot. So Wonder Woman is the placeholder, but I still think it's a worthy placeholder. So Brian, what say you?
Wonder Woman was fucking fantastic. It was an absolute delight to watch. And yeah, Gal Gadot, terrific performance. Chris Pine, amazing. Chemistry, amazing. Patty Jenkins' direction. It's crazy because this was her first film in almost 15 years. Because the last film she made before this was Monster with Charlize Theron, which was fucking spectacular. And this woman, clearly she was a fan of Wonder Woman. And clearly she wanted to tell a good story. And she did. And my favorite aspect of this movie were the subtle moments between Diana and Steve. Their conversation on the boat, for example, that was awesome. When Steve teaches Diana how to dance,
Oh, it was great. Like
that was wonderful. That was wonderful.
And this isn't a spoiler because you guys don't know the context. But when Steve is like, telling her like, or when Diana's like, "What is love like? What is peace like?" And he's like, "Well, it's like you just find someone, get a house, make some babies." Like it's just like I don't know. Like that conversation was just it felt so human. And I felt like that was genuine. It didn't even feel like that was the script. It felt like they were slow dancing, and Patty Jenkins was like, "How would you say the dialogue in this situation?" And they just kind of went for it. And it was a very somber moment between, well, this would be a spoiler, but between what Diana Prince is and a human being, and it was quite lovely. Quite adorable.
And it's something that most comic book superhero movies lack nowadays because most of them only focus on the action. Sure, they may have like a good focus on the characters, but they focus more on the action. Here, the thing that I loved about Wonder Woman was that, like, despite Diana having powers, she was a human. Steve Trevor was a human. These are just human people. Like, they're just humans. And when stuff happens to them, it sucks. Like, they're just humans, and they felt like real people, and that's something that most comic book movies lack nowadays, with the exception of one that we will definitely talk about later on. And this one did it beautifully. I loved Wonder Woman a lot. I thought it was phenomenal, and I cannot wait for whatever else DC does. I hope they continue a good streak because this one really, really blew everyone out of the water. And most people I know, they love the movie. I haven't talked to anyone that didn't like the movie, so that's a good thing. And yeah, Wonder Woman it was fantastic. And yeah, I'm excited for whatever else is in DC's universe. I'm excited to see if there's anything else with the character of Wonder Woman. Obviously, she's going to be in Justice League. And
I can bet you money on this. After Wonder Woman hit as big as it did, Warner Brothers was like, okay, we're about to do our reshoots on Justice League. I want you guys to form this to where Wonder Woman is the main lead now. Like, I will guarantee you that when we see Justice League, they are going to shape her out to be the front person for the group instead of Batman because of how popular she is, which is not a bad thing. I think if you have this like strong warrior as your leader, and considering who is in her genetic code, I think it makes sense for her to be in kind of the forefront, leading this pack of ragtag group of gods and of course Batman. So I think that she will probably be the front person. I mean, do you think Warner Brothers is going to now shift their focus on her, considering that she's really popular now?
Well, I mean, I can't say that for sure. I would understand if they do that, and I wouldn't be mad if they did that. I just don't know how it's all going to come to fruition. Excuse me. And I don't know, man. We'll have to see how it all goes down because, like they said that if Justice League doesn't really do well financially or critically, it was one of those two, or maybe both, then they're probably going to restart the whole thing. But I don't think they will. After how good Wonder Woman did critically and commercially, I don't see Justice League doing that bad. And with Joss Whedon, taking care of the reshoots, I think it's all going to go down very well.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the final product. And the month of November, what a great month. You get Thor Ragnarok, and 2 weeks later you get Justice League.
I know.
Don't you just love little presents like that? So, all right, so that's my number 4. Let's get into our top 3 now. I'm going to make a bold prediction and say that Brian and I have the same top 2. So our number 3s are going to be the only thing that's going to be different for the rest of the podcast. Now, I could be wrong, but after all the movies we've talked about up until this point, I have a strong, sneaky suspicion we have the same top 2. But I know for a fact that my number 3 is nowhere near on your list. I don't think you even heard of it. So before I get to mine, though, what is your number 3?
My number 3 just came out last week. And, everybody's talking about it. It's the big thing right now, Baby Driver.
Okay.
Alrighty. Okay then. Alright.
And I've already talked to Joel about this. We've had a heated discussion. I saw it before I went on my vacation. I like the movie a lot. Don't love it, but I like it. So don't put words in my mouth and say like, "Oh, I fucking hated it." No, I'd probably give it a strong B+. I would recommend it to anyone, and I would say go watch it. But as far as like, you know, like one of the best movies of the year, A+ quality, like some of my fellow critics, I can't get it to there. But Brian is going to convince me otherwise, or try to convince me and convince you all why it is one of the best.
Edgar Wright, you see, like I said when I talked about Colossal, I fucking love originality so much. You know, listen, I love getting the sequels and the blockbusters, and you know, like I like getting the new Star Wars and the Marvels and the DCs and all that other stuff. When an original big mainstream film of sorts comes out, it gets me excited. Now, Edgar Wright to me is hands down one of the best filmmakers we have working today. He is one of the few directors in Hollywood that has yet to make a film that I didn't like. I love all three Cornetto films, from Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End. I love Scott Pilgrim. I would have loved to have seen what he did with Ant-Man, but, you know, Ant-Man ended up being good, so, you know, I'm happy for that. And Baby Driver, I was just waiting for an Edgar Wright film because The World's End was so incredible. And, you know, we were supposed to get one with Ant-Man 2 years ago, but, you know, now he went back to a original Edgar Wright film. I think this is his most grounded work to date. It's definitely his most mature film to date. It's definitely his most dramatic film to date, even though there is more comedy in this than drama. That's a given. And
it's his most accessible to a mainstream going audience, because as much as I like the Cornetto trilogy and Scott Pilgrim, those movies didn't hit with anyone. So no, I'm glad that like this one's going to open up like his mainstream doors to attempt to do other things to please the bigger crowd. That's the one thing I really do like about Baby Driver, is that this is going to kind of plant him into making more mainstream stuff, but still have that Edgar Wright flair to it.
Yes, and the thing is, most like a lot of people I know like the movie a lot. So I haven't met anyone that hated it. Although one of my coworkers, of course, did not like it because, you know, he likes, you know, the stupid movies like 50 Shades Darker because, you know, I don't want. Yeah, it's cute. It's cute. Sure. But he didn't like this one. I don't know why. Like, I understand if he didn't think it was like a 10 out of 10. I didn't give it a 10 out of 10. It's like a 9.5 for me. Like, it's like actually, I don't do numbers. I do grades. It was like an A for me. My only problem with it was the way it wrapped up. Like, I felt like the ending, there could have been more to it. And I understand that if you added more to it, maybe it wouldn't have been as strong. But I wanted a little bit more when it wrapped up. I'm not going to spoil anything, of course, but
I would tend to agree with you. Like, that's kind of one of my main issues. The romance was a main issue for me. I didn't really care about it whatsoever. And I thought some of the character choices from Lily James and Baby Driver, it just didn't click for me. Like, it almost like became too absurd towards the end, but it was still enjoyable. Like, that whole sequence was amazing. Like, I love that whole last sequence of them trying to, you know, rob the bank or whatever. It's absolutely wonderful. And you know, the action sequences and the actual like directing and editing of the film is so strong that even the weak parts, like the romance or even kind of the semi-flat ending, it actually will level out because the other aspects about the film are so good.
Yeah, totally. I agree with you on that. I also thought the performances, for the most part, were terrific. Ansel Elgort, you know, I'll be honest, never really cared for him before this movie. I liked him in Fault in Our Stars, but that's really the only thing that I really cared for him. I don't really like Divergent. I think those are really the only things I've seen him in. And he was great in this movie. Really surprised the hell out of me. Jamie Foxx, I thought, was the scene stealer the entire movie. I thought he was awesome. John Hamm was good. You know, kudos to that girl. Eliza Gonzalez, she was getting some of the ham sandwich, so, you know, good for her. Kevin Spacey, good. The soundtrack was fantastic. Probably my favorite soundtrack of the year, topping Guardians 2, which also had a great soundtrack. And in the end, like, it's just, you know, the editing for this film should get recognition at the Oscars. I don't understand why none of Edgar Wright's films have gotten any recognition when it comes to its editing, because the editing in this movie is out of this world. Like, it's so quick. Like, you can still tell what's going on, because most of the time when you have quick cut movies, you can never tell what's going on. In this one, you're able to notice everything, and it's brilliant.
Like, most of his films almost have like the style of like how Tom Cross edits his films, where it's like that kind of like swift, kinetic energy, but still has a nice flow to where it's not like all over the place. Like, it still has like a nice beat and rhythm to it, but it has like this very kinetic energy that's like so fast. But when it clicks, it makes it so entertaining, because that could go horribly wrong when you're editing super fast. Like, it could, it could give you epilepsy. So if you do it just right, you can make that movie airtight and really make it entertaining to where there's no dead spots, and it's really just kind of like an airtight edit type of deal.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think his editing is just marvelous, and yeah, Edgar Wright so far, that's 5 movies, and he's 5 for 5 right now. He's in the veins. There are only 2 other directors that I could think of that have made more than 5 movies that I've either liked or loved: Quentin Tarantino and Christopher Nolan. Like, those, these 3 directors, all the films they've done so far are either good or great, and they have yet to make a bad one. Obviously, Nolan has one coming out in a few weeks with Dunkirk, and Tarantino just had one a few years ago, and it's just, Edgar Wright is just a genius. He's a goddamn Kane. Whoever taught him all this stuff, I want to learn that stuff. Baby Driver is my number 3. It's incredible. I saw the movie twice, and I was just blown away by it tremendously. Like I said, my only flaw was the way it wrapped up. I wish there was more added to it, and I can understand some problems with the romance. I totally get that. But other than that, it's a nearly perfect movie for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun in the theaters. I had such a blast watching it, but I couldn't put it on mine. For my number 3, though, I'm going to do one of my Dallas International Film Festival picks, and Brian knows this. I really like abstract surrealism. David Lynch is one of my favorite filmmakers ever. Even if you don't like understand what the fuck he's doing half the time, he knows what he's doing. Like, he actually has a point to everything he does. And when you can decipher it, when you can kind of break that code, it is one of the most satisfying things ever. You're like, holy shit, David, that's what you were going for? That's brilliant. So I like that type of style. That's why Twin Peaks, dear Lord, get on that. If you like abstract surrealism, I think you you might just have a heart attack of just all the goodness being thrown at you. So I usually gravitate towards those types of movies, like the Lynchian type of movies. Case in point, last year, my number 2 for the entire year, right behind Moonlight, was Nocturnal Animals, and that had kind of like a Mulholland Drive type of feel to it. So I'm kind of biased when it comes to these movies. I love them, and they will always make their way to the top. But I really enjoy this film. It is definitely a think piece in terms of what the fuck is happening and what is not happening. So it's one of those movies where you don't know what's real and what's not. It is the one starring Remy Malek, Buster's Mal Hart. I absolutely didn't know what the hell was going on half the time. However, when the movie ended, I sat in that theater's chair and I thought about it, and I was like, wait a minute. I think I get it. I was like replaying the whole movie in my head, and I think everything just clicked with me, and I really just kind of brought a whole new like an enjoyment level as I walked out of that theater. So getting down to like what the movie's about, Rami Malek, he plays this nighttime clerk at a hotel. So he does the night shift, and you can probably tell where this is going. He gets little to no sleep, so he's got like sleep deprivation. So he starts hallucinating shit, and we don't know as an audience member what he's hallucinating, what's actually happening. It deals with him on the going on the run from the cops because of this weirdo like cult prediction of the apocalypse coming. It's a very fascinating movie for sure, and the way the movie ends definitely raises some questions, but I think also seals some answers as to what was actually happening. But it has like some weird sequences. I'm not gonna lie, like there were some sequences that popped out. I was like, I like what I'm watching, but I have no idea what's happening. But I'm telling you, it's one of those movies to where you gotta watch it more than once. It's definitely a mind trip of a movie. The performances are really great. The way it's shot is very fantasy-like, very dream-like, which I really appreciate. I think that was the whole point. You shoot those sequences like a dream, maybe throw people off, and then shoot this like a normal, like kind of real-life scenario. So I really enjoyed it. Rami Malek stole the show. He carried it. I thought the direction was very very swift, very unique. She definitely added like some flavor to it that definitely kept you interested throughout the entire thing. It was never boring. I wanted to know what the hell was going to happen, and a nice supporting role from DJ Qualls. Do you guys remember him? Good old the new guy. That was the first thing I ever saw him in, and that was like in 2002. So it was weird to see him in there, but he did a very good job. Like I said, it's one of those movies that you gotta watch more than once, but I think as a theater-going experience and what I was actually seeing in front of me, whether it be story-wise, creative-wise, technically, I had a complete mind fuck with it, and I just wanted to know more and more about this world that she was trying to create, and more about this character as he was going throughout his journey. So I really enjoyed it quite a bit, and if you guys have not seen Mr. Robot, I've seen 4 episodes of it, and he's absolutely fantastic on that show. The first thing I ever saw him in, this is no joke, was Need for Speed, and he got naked in that movie, so the only impression I had of Rami Malek was his fucking ass when he was running down the hallway of that building. I was like, Jesus Christ, this guy's like in a TV show now, he's running a movie, like, but he's good. He's a really good actor, and he can play sleep deprivation characters very well, because he kind of plays that Mr. Robot. He plays it here. He's got those like really like sunken in eyes that are perfect for that type of...
and he's playing Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like perfect for that paranoia type of character, and he completely sells it. I absolutely loved it for sure. I want to rewatch it. I saw it once, but I definitely want to rewatch and kind of pick up on the little clues. So, Brian, have you even heard of this one?
It was playing at the Tribeca Film Festival, which is in New York City. I couldn't go to the festival, and I remember hearing about the movie, and, I like Rami Malek. I haven't seen Mr. Robot yet, but I do think he's a talent among us. It's funny that you bring up him in Need for Speed. I honestly forgot he was in that until you brought it up. My first thing with him was...
trust me, I remember it, because the only scene that he attributed to that movie was running down a fucking hallway with his bare ass.
I know, that was very weird. He was also in Night at the Museum, where he played the Pharaoh, the young Pharaoh. Yeah. Like I said, he's going to be playing Freddie Mercury. I think he's a talented actor. This movie does sound interesting. Also, when you brought up DJ Qualls, I was laughing because he played the cop that arrested Badger in that episode of Breaking Bad.
Oh,
remember he was the guy that was like this, I'd like to buy some of this. And he's like, Albuquerque police!
yeah, I remember that now.
So yeah, this movie does sound pretty interesting, and I do hope to check it out as soon as I can.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if you like those weird David Lynch type mindfuck movies, give it a shot. If you don't like it, then stay away from it, because you'll probably be like, "What the fuck is this?" The director actually said it's a mix between Donnie Darko and Bad Santa. That's an actual quote from her. So the Bad Santa part of it, actually, I did not like. It actually took me out of the movie, but I like the Donnie Darko aspect for sure. So it's definitely a mixed bag in terms of tone for me, but I think the overall film is still worth it to give it a shot. So that is my number 3. All right, guys, getting to our top 2 now. Like I said, I made a bold prediction that we have the same top 2. I know for a fact, and I will put money on it, that we have the same number 1. But the number 2 spot is a movie that I remember when I saw it, I texted Joel and I texted Brian. on what I thought about it, and I was completely blown away by it. I think Brian saw it like a week later or whatever, and he was blown away. So I'm wondering if that kind of stuck with his list. So, Brian, what is your number 2?
My number 2. You know, I before I say this, I want to say this right now. A lot of people are probably going to comment and say this is technically a 2016 movie.
Okay, so we have the same number 2 then.
Yes, I of course we do. Here's the deal. This movie only came out in like one theater in 2016 for 1 week only, and that was in Los Angeles. So technically, it didn't come to where I live until this year. It didn't come to where Chase lives until this year. Not many people got to see it until this very year. Our number 2 is, in my opinion, I'm going to say this right now, it might be the best animation I've seen this decade so far, tied with Toy Story 3 and Inside Out. Your Name.
You know what's really funny about that? I wouldn't disagree with you. I would definitely put it in like a top 5 for sure of the decade so far. Your Name. Listen, if you aren't into anime, I get it. You probably watched some weird anime porn one time and you got scared. You shut off your computer and you ran off and you went to the park. But I'm telling you right now, besides the squid porn and the tentacle porn they have over there, they make some pretty damn good movies. And this one is, it starts out so innocent, and it starts out almost like a comedy. And then it kind of evolves into this like emotional gut punch that you don't even see coming. Because it kind of takes you through a loop. It's very unpredictable in terms of how it's going to shift from tone to tone, but still have that kind of like organic flow to it to where you're with it. You're with these characters, so when they get into these kind of like high stakes, like dramatic situations, you're completely on board. You're completely invested. Your Name is essentially about a teenage girl and a teenage boy who can basically swap themselves into each other's bodies and kind of experience them for a day. And then we're not gonna spoil anything, but it kind of leads up into this catastrophic event that takes place in a town, and they with their body swapping kind of thing that they got going on, they're able to do something about it. And that's all I'll say. Because I'm sure Brian was surprised too with the twist, and I was like, ooh, that was actually really smart. Like, it was a really well-written movie. Like I said, starts out very innocent. Like, if we were to swap into a woman's body, what's the first thing we're going to do? We're going to grab some tits and we're going to look at a vagina. Like, that's what we're going to do. And, you know, you have a woman swap into a guy's body, what they're going to do? They're going to look at our dicks. That's what they're going to do. And so that's the way the movie starts. It's very fun. It's very cute. You know, they're looking at each other's private parts and they're like, whoa, I'm going to be a girl for a day. Let's go see what she does. And, like, you know, of course they don't know where the fuck they're going in school and stuff. They get lost, and, you know, that's the whole point. That's where the comedy comes in. And then something is happening. Something is about to happen to their town that they're in. And they find a way to kind of control the situation. And they try to do that. And so it really just kind of has this kind of unison feel where we have these two complete strangers coming together as one to fix this event that's about to happen. And there was just something just really powerful about that. And the way it was set up with its climax and its music. I'm telling you, when you watch this in a theater, that music is going to shake you to your core. It is so good how it affects you and how the climax reaches at the end of the movie. It's a wonderful film. I mean, there's nothing more to say. Like, the animation is really good. It uses a blend of hand-drawn and 3D, and it's a really lovely blend. It's very beautiful. The towns look really great. The people look really great. The story is investing, so you're watching this visual beauty while watching this very kind of emotional beauty as well with these two characters. It's so good. It was I'm not even joking. It's one of my favorite theater experiences in the entire year. I unfortunately saw it in the morning and I was tired and I didn't want to read the subtitle version, which I actually don't mind, by the way. I don't mind reading subtitles, but I was tired, so I was like, oh, fuck it, I'll just watch the dub version. I thought the voice acting from the dub was actually not distracting. Usually dub voice acting is distracting in anime films. I actually didn't find it distracting at all. I actually really got into it. There were 5 people in my audience. It was me and 2 other couples. We were glued to the screen. Like, no one was, like, looking away or, like, you know, fidgeting with their keys or looking at their phone or whatever. Everyone was glued to the screen because it's just that commanding of a story with wonderful animation. So, I'm done talking about it. If you guys are into anime, please watch it. I think you'll really enjoy it. I really enjoyed it. One of my favorites of the year. I'm actually really curious because I told Joel this on our podcast last week. I'm wondering if Brian and I's top 2 will carry out until the end of the year. I have a sneaky suspicion that they might, unless something can come along and beat them. But that's why they're our top 2, because I think they'll actually they have a better chance of sticking around until the end of the year than most movies. So, Your Name is my number 2 as well as Brian's. Brian, tell us about Your Name.
Your Name, this was another one where I didn't really know much going into it. I kind of knew the basic plot of how they swap bodies, and that's it. I actually did a double feature when I saw Colossal first, and then I went to go see this. Now, unfortunately, I wanted to get the live action one out of the way first, and the last English dub showing was playing during my showing of Colossal, and the only available showing was the one with the Japanese, the subbed version. And I didn't mind. I'm not usually someone that watches, you know, subbed films in the theater, so I was like, okay, sure, I'll do this and whatnot. You know, I probably should have stuck with the English stuff because I cried so much during this movie.
Yeah.
I had no idea what was on screen, so I'm like, what does that say? I don't know what you're saying, but it's so beautiful. This film was an emotional roller coaster. And like you said, when the movie begins, it's so innocent and sweet and kind of like a teen comedy of sorts.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like a Freaky Friday. It's like, okay, that's
a Freaky
cool.
Friday.
It's cool, it's funny and stuff, and you're along with it because you're like, I can relate to that. That's what I would do.
Yes. And then that thing happens in the middle, and you're like, oh. Okay. But from there on...
just to make it clear, Brian makes it seem like, you know, this thing just happens, and it's a complete tonal shift. It is a complete tonal shift, but this event that happens is a metaphor for these two characters colliding in their own lives.
It is a metaphor, and, you know, the execution of it was fucking phenomenal. Like,
yes.
You know, I don't know if this movie's going to be eligible for Oscars for this upcoming year. If I was the head of the Academy, I would hands down nominate this for Best Animated Feature. And you know what?
Whoa, wait. I thought it was nominated already. It was nominated for this past ceremony.
No, it wasn't. I don't think it was.
I'm pretty sure it was. That's why LA had it for a week.
They had it for consideration. They had it just so it could qualify, but it didn't get nominated.
Oh.
I wish it could get nominated this year, but I don't know if it would be allowed. If not, then whatever. I'm not saying the other anime films coming out later this year are going to be bad. Coco looks amazing. But that's like the only animated film I'm excited for the remainder of the year. I could care less about. Well, to be honest, we all know that Nutjob 2 is going to win the Oscar. So you know,
whoa, Brian. We all know that the Emoji Movie is going to be nominated for Best Picture, and Patrick Stewart as Poop is going to be nominated for Supporting Actor. We all know this. I don't know why the fuck you're skirting around the fact that this is going to be dominating at the Oscars.
Well, yes, that's true too. It's obvious that the Emoji Movie and fucking Nutjob 2 are going to go head to head, and yeah.
Okay, I'm going to piss everyone off right now. What if Patrick Stewart got nominated as the poop emoji and not his role in Logan, would you actually like quit life?
I don't know. See.
Would you quit watching movies?
Maybe, although it's Patrick Stewart. Listen, I don't want to say anything about that movie because A, it hasn't come out yet. For all we know, it could end up being not terrible, but it probably won't be good either. Anyways, back to your name. So when this thing happens, like you said, there's a metaphor to it, and the way it wraps up is fantastic. The last 5 minutes of this movie, it's my favorite ending of the year so far. It is, it's very sweet and quiet and subdued, and it was just really wonderful. And like you said about the animation, it's marvelous. You know, unfortunately, we live in a day and age where most anime movies are all 3D CGI animated movies. This is hand-drawn animation, and it was fucking breathtaking to look at. There are so many shots in this movie that I think are, like, if you do, like, cinematic frames, like, if you pick your favorite shots of the year, or if you follow that page on Twitter, The Perfect Shot, I guarantee you that the sequence where he's looking up and he sees all those, like, colors in the sky, that's like going to be on that Twitter page. That is my favorite shot of the movie. And also the music is great. That opening song is awesome. I haven't heard it in English. I've only heard it in Japanese, but it was pretty great. And it's also hands down probably one of the best romance movies I've seen in forever. And it's just really, really genuine and sweet and heartbreaking and heartwarming. There was great comedy in this movie for sure, and it was just a really well done piece of animation. It's my favorite animation of the decade, alongside Toy Story 3 and Inside Out. And I'm not really the biggest watcher of anime either. This is probably my favorite Japanese animation I've ever seen as well. And yeah, Your Name is just phenomenal. If any of you guys have not checked it out, you have to. Like, it is a guaranteed watch for any film lovers out there. Now, if you're an anime fanatic, you gotta watch this movie. Like, you have to watch this movie if you're a big anime fan. I have many friends that love anime. They gotta see this movie. English or not, it doesn't matter. Just watch this movie. Just honestly watch it. Just do it, okay? Thank you. Your Name, our number 2. Fucking perfect.
Yeah, and just to kind of cap it off with, even if you're not an anime fan, I'd still would recommend it. Like, I'd give it a shot. You actually might like it. I've actually done a lot of anime films this year. I did a lot of Miyazaki films for the first time, and I'm starting to get more kind of get more affiliated with the anime culture and whatnot. I love watching foreign films and whatnot, so I'm starting to kind of branch my knowledge in that. But that was our number 2. Measly number 2. There's one film that has come out this year so far that has blown the socks off of Brian and myself. Now, I remember when I saw it, and I've seen it 3 times, by the way. The first time I saw it, I was like, yeah, this is going on the top 10 somewhere. I just don't know where yet. It's also going in the top 3, at least, of its genre. It is the perfect film about the character that is Brian. Who are we talking about?
We're talking about... Oh, man, the tears are starting to come already. Logan.
Speaking of Patrick Stewart and the poop emoji, I'm sorry. The other one that he's in, Logan. Hugh Jackman's final run as Wolverine. Brian was a wee little infant at this time. I know he was a little older, but, I'll make fun of him. So in the year 2000, Brian was a zygote, and I was 10 years old. So the first X-Men came out. I loved it, and of course I saw X2 in theaters in 2002. I was 12, and I've really just been a part of this character, for the past 17 years. So this was kind of like an emotional send-off and a really great kind of end cap to this character that we've all kind of known and loved since the year 2000. Listen, Wolverine's a brutal character. He is an anti-hero. He is sarcastic. He is loving. He's a really good representation of a lot of different things wrapped into one. We see Hugh Jackman pretty much give the best performance as this character of his career. I would even say one of the best performances of his career in general. You have Professor X played by Patrick Stewart, who gives one of his best performances of the year and his career. And you see the camaraderie, and you're like, it hasn't missed a beat. So that's there. You have Daphne Keane, who plays X-23 in the film. She is really great. The violence is brutal. It's visceral. It's bloody. It's in your face. I love it. It gets you really invested into the violence and really invested into the characters and their situations. The dramatic elements in this are outstanding. They are superb. The emotions are there. The acting is there. It just all clicks. You will cry. I've seen it 3 times, and I still cry at the same goddamn scenes every single time. The action sequences are really great. The characters are fully well realized. The villains I have a few issues with. They're a little underdeveloped, but Boyd Holbrook does a really great job as their foil. It's a perfect representation of Wolverine. I don't think you can get any more perfect. So yeah, it's an emotional ride that I think if you are an X-Men fan, superhero fan, Hugh Jackman fan, or a Western fan, or a sci-fi horror Western fan, you're going to love it. It's absolutely wonderful. It could actually be even considered as just a film that's not in the superhero genre. That's how good it is. I gave it an A+ in March. I stand by it. I even my small little issues with like a couple of the technical things and the main villain. Other than that, I battle back and forth as maybe it is the best one in the genre so far. Listen, when you're kicking off the year in 2017 with Logan, and you got to follow up, I'm sorry, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Wonder Woman, and I'm seeing Spider-Man tomorrow, but unless Thor Ragnarok or Justice League can blow our socks off, which they could be great movies, but Logan is the definitive, not only superhero film of the year so far, but film so far this year. It is a masterpiece within its genre. And just one last thing before I throw it over to Brian. I did watch the black and white version. I like the black and white version quite a bit. It complements the harsh shadows and the light of the cinematography, but the blood is muted, and it takes away the impact of the violence just a hair for me. So I actually prefer the color version for the violence, but I prefer the black and white for the cinematography. So it's kind of weird for me, but I still like both versions. So just wanted to say that. But Logan is my number 1.
Yeah, what else can you say about Logan that hasn't been said? Logan is just, it's hands down a masterpiece. It's in its own genre and franchise. You know, it's not only the best X-Men movie, it's not only the best film I think Hugh Jackman's ever done, it's the best superhero film I think ever made. You know, I know a lot of people contemplate by saying The Dark Knight is the best. I understand The Dark Knight changed the genre tremendously, but Logan is the most realistic and grounded superhero film ever made. This is not a movie, this is a film. There's a difference between a movie and film. I would say The Dark Knight is a film. An example of a movie, I would say Guardians of the Galaxy is a movie. This is a film. This is a filmmaker's film. And James Mangold wrapped up the Wolverine Logan storyline extremely well. Hugh Jackman, this is my favorite lead actor performance of the year so far. He's very Oscar-worthy in my opinion, even though The Greatest Showman does look great, no pun intended. And, you know, he's long overdue of a win. He was nominated for Les Mis. I thought he should have been nominated for Prisoners, and this one he should at least get a nomination for. There are so many sequences in this movie that you could show during this ceremony where you're like, that is his Oscar scene. You always watch these award type of movies, and you know when someone's going to get nominated, you know that's going to be the scene. I could tell you, like, for example, when Manchester by the Sea came out last year, and everyone was saying Casey Affleck was going to win the Oscar, which he ended up doing, rightfully so. That sequence in in the police headquarters or whatever, that police station. That was the scene they were going to use. That's the scene they used. And with this one, there's so many scenes I don't even know what they're going to use. Patrick Stewart gives a absolutely restrained performance as Professor X, really heartbreaking, and he's battling Alzheimer's, and the sequence where they're in Vegas.
Stop! You fucking stop it! You stop it, goddammit! I don't want to fucking tear up.
It cried.
You stop it.
It cried, and that's it. And then the other scene, which I'm not going to say, Chase knows. It just involves a piece of furniture, and that's it. Daphne Keane, incredible child performance. She was amazing as Laura / X-23. It's very rare for children to get nominated for Oscars. She should get something. Patrick Stewart should win the supporting actor Oscar, in my opinion.
I mean,
I thought he should have gotten a nomination for Green Room. And he was what? Say that one more time.
No, I was just saying that I agree. Like Daphne Keane, like just thinking about it and after seeing it multiple times, she's got a lot of complexity with her character. I know that for the most part she speaks Spanish, but there's still emotion in the face being portrayed by her, and that's what sells her performance as one of the best. And of course, the scene at the very end, come on.
Yeah.
So I agree with you that all three of them. Actually, unless we got 5 others that are better than them, I think they all 3 should be nominated as of right now.
I agree 100%. James Mangold's direction was superb. The action sequences were bloody and beautiful. I love the cinematography. I love the subtle moments in this movie. Like, I love how the first and third act are more action heavy than the second act is more quiet and subdued. When they're at the farm, it's great. I know a lot of people complained that it like slowed the movie down, but it built up these characters to make sure that you care about them and that they're humans. Similar to what I said earlier about Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
They're humans deep down, and these 3 characters, yes, Logan may have claws coming out for him. Yes, Professor X may be a genius that can read people's minds, but they're human people, and that's the thing with them. They're humans, and when stuff happens to them, it sucks.
It's like in the movie, Professor X is like, yes, we will go have dinner with you, because he knows that they're probably not going to make it out alive. And Logan looks at him and goes, you know what? This man has gone through life. Let's give him one last meal. They know that they're being hunted down, but you have to have like that moment in order to, like, it's hard to explain, but it's like Professor X has been running, for his whole life. Like, wouldn't it be nice to just sit down and have a fucking meal with people? Like, Brian's right. It's like the most human thing you can do, and that's why they do it. And I know a lot of people complain about that, like it slows it down. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, they know they're probably not going to make it out alive. Go fucking have a nice home-cooked meal, you asshole. Like, it's just fucking bizarre to some people.
Yeah, it's just really, it's great. It's a fantastic film, and I hope it gets a lot of good recognitions come award season. I hope it stays on a lot of people's radar when the year ends. I believe it will. It's already stayed on people's radar this far. It's July, and people are still talking about the movie. They're gushing about it. They're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And yeah, Logan just fucking fantastic. And yeah, it's my hands down the best superhero film I've ever seen. And Logan's my number 1 of the year. Will it continue to be my number 1? I don't know. I think it could be. And if it stays, then that's awesome. So yeah, Logan is the best film that each of us have seen so far this year. And that's it.
That's it, folks. And hey, listen, if you want to get a recap of our top 5 so far, for Brian, 5 on up, Band-Aid, Colossal, Baby Driver, Your Name, and Logan. For myself, 5 on up, Get Out, Wonder Woman, Buster's Mount Heart, Your Name, and Logan. So we want to know what you guys have to say. What are some of your favorite films of the year so far? Please comment in that place below off voices and let us know. Brian, what are we doing next week?
Next week, War for the Planet of the Apes comes out. We are going to be talking about its main antagonist, Woody Harrelson.
Good old Woody H. I can tell you right now, if we would allow TV, I'd put True Detective as my number one, hands down.
Same.
Like all day, every day. So, but this is a movie podcast, so we'll have to think a little harder as to which one is our favorite. But Woody Harrelson's got an eclectic IMDb, so it'll be very interesting to kind of scroll through that and be like, oh shit, he was in that. Oh shit, he was in that. And I still need to see The Edge of 17 in full. I know Brian hates me, but every time when I'm on the plane, I see like the first like 15 minutes, and I'm just like, here's the deal. It's not the movie. I can't like watch movies on a plane. It's just so uncomfortable. Me as a 6'4", almost 300-pound man to sit in those cramped up little chairs trying to watch something on my phone. Fuck that. Like I can't do that shit. So, yeah, I've started it like 5 times and I've never finished it. But I want to try to before we record next week. So.
Yes,
yeah.
please do.
Yeah, so Woody Harrelson should be a fun episode for sure. But before we get into that episode, we got to end this one. So, Brian, where can the people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at FilmJunkieBrian and on YouTube at Brian Seffield.
That's right. You can follow me on Twitter at RealChaseLee. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Spread this around and let people know this is a pretty decent little listen. And continue to support the show. I know it's like the same group of people that listen every single week. You guys are awesome. You guys always kick ass. So let us know down below. Top 5 films of the year, motherfuckers. You guys are badass. Keep it up. And, yeah, I guess I'm Chase Lee.
And I'm Brian Seffield.
That's fucking right. See you guys next week. Woody Harrelson. Peace out.